so I am actually just going to turn my camera off so you're not staring at my forehead. But by all means, everybody have a great meeting, and I'm here if you need me.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We have a good program this morning with the library services and information on that. So we'll start off by, the library individuals that are online, could you just tell us who you are and what you do at the library, and then we can get started on our presentations. So
go ahead,
Oh, okay. Alphabetical, I guess. I'm Allison Schroeder. I'm the Director of Customer Experience at the Barrie Public Library. And what that means is the public-facing services that we provide at both locations.
And I'm Christopher Vandecruz. I'm the Director of Business and Development, and I sort of oversee all finance as well as the buildings and different aspects within our community.
That's great. So I'll let you take over and start your presentations so we don't hold you up, but we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
Do you want me to go first, Chris, or do you?
Hey, you go the exciting stuff first, and then we'll do the boring.
Okay, wonderful. Did you want us to do a little round table so you know who's on board with us?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm Donna Delio, the chair of the committee. Okay, go ahead. We'll just do it around. Pat?
I'm Pat Tifo, just a volunteer at the Parkview 55 Plus Center.
Gwen Kavanaugh Carp and Vice Chair. Hello, everybody.
Morning, Christopher and Allison, Anne Marie Kungle, Ward 3 City Councilor.
Good morning, everyone. Lucia, CNIB.
Colin?
Morning, I'm Colin Green. I'm the program director at the Gilbert Center.
All right. Jessica?
Jessica Gorley, and I'm the recreation programmer with the City of Barrie with the 55 Plus Centers and a staff support for the committee.
Okay, and I think Brandy, I think they know who you are, but.
I'm Brandy. I'm the committee support clerk for the council secretariat.
Great. Okay, let Christopher, Allison take it over.
Sure, I guess I'm going to go first. I'm going to pull up my presentation. Just, can you see it? My PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is an overview of the Barrie Public Library services and resources that we have, and I'm really glad to be here to talk to you about this because I'm very passionate about what we offer, and I love to talk about it. I've done a presentation for CARP, so Gwen knows that I really like to talk about this. And I hope you all know a bit about the library, but I also hope that I tell you something that you didn't know and that you can take with you after the meeting. So, discover opportunities. Right now, libraries are going through an unprecedented time of transition and change. Even before the pandemic, this was happening. So in addition to our physical collections, the library offers digital books, audiobooks, and music that's easily accessible with your library membership. We've also become centers of community collaboration and engagement through innovative programming and outreach. But more than this, libraries are poised to become all-in-one spaces for learning, consuming information, sharing, creating, and experiencing. Libraries are about learning, which we've already talked about learning at any age. And they're also about choices. So choices on how you want to use the library, either in person or virtually, in collaboration with others, on your own, inside the library, outside the library walls. And as a library card holder, everyone has access to the information that we have anywhere and anytime. So this is one of our teen volunteers, actually, that is in our LIT program, Leaders in Training program. So communities, where communities come together. This is our vision at Barrie Public Library, and we are really passionate about reducing barriers to access. One way we've done this is in 2019, we revised our membership policy to allow more people to be eligible to get a library card. And so right now you are eligible for a free membership if you live in Barrie or Medonte, you work or go to school in Barrie or Medonte, you own property or a business in Barrie, or you belong to the Midland or Orillia Public Library and live in Midland and Orillia. And something else that's very exciting for us is that we've gone fine free. A lot of libraries are doing this across the country. This doesn't mean that you're not responsible for returning the material, but what it does mean is there's no cost anymore if you return the material past the due date. And as I don't know if people knew that, but that happened July 2020. And as a library system in one of Canada's fastest growing communities, we need to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the community. And this past summer, we gave our Painswick Library a much needed refresh. The traditional system of library shelving in Painswick has been replaced with a discovery layout shelving design that promotes the customer experience with intuitive signage, more accessible shelves, and displays that engage the users. In response to more in-library workspace, we also have more work tables and laptop bars for people using their own devices. We created a computer lab with public computers, and to supplement the increased computer usage, we offer loanable laptops while visiting the library. So you can just use them while you're in the library. And of course, we have comfy lounge furniture if you just want to sit and read. So if you haven't, I don't know if you've been in to see the new setup, but it's really, really nice. So I would encourage everybody to go have a peek and ask the staff to give you a tour as well. They'd be happy to do that. Another big part of community engagement are library volunteer opportunities. So right now, volunteer opportunities have been limited and in the past few months, but we're beginning to reignite these opportunities, and they include delivering material to homebound patrons, hosting small groups of newcomers in our English conversation circles in our in-person programming, and there's opportunities for teens. I mentioned on the first picture was one of our teen volunteers. Throughout the pandemic, members of our LIT, the Leaders in Training, have also provided book reviews for teens. So that's been really good. It's a volunteer opportunity that's been sustainable. And as more opportunities arise, we're going to post them on our website and our social media channels. So service is one of the things we're very proud of. Our value statement for service is we care about and respond to the needs of our community and our colleagues. We have unique interests, experiences, and passion, and we bring these to work every day. We engage our community and welcome everyone. So we've configured both the spaces in both our locations so that visitors can browse our collections easier. I mentioned the Painswick refresh. We've done some moving around downtown as well. And people can use this space to read, learn, visit, and work. And we also are making sure right now that the health and safety of our patrons is a priority, and our staff as well. But throughout the pandemic, it's actually inspired us to make changes that we never really realized we needed. And some of these changes we'll keep doing and keep going on with. But we, of course, have all our physical collections like large print audiobooks, fiction, nonfiction, DVDs, video games, and of course, a huge collection for children, books and DVDs. And learning, as we've mentioned, as I said, is for everyone. We have learning resources that aren't just for students. LinkedIn Learning has modules to learn technology skills, such as Microsoft applications and mindfulness courses, yoga courses. You can learn to play the ukulele, and there is speed reading classes as well. I looked that up. So I'm happy to show anybody that wants to see that as well. Another resource that we have is BrainFuse. It's our newest learning resource, and it offers tutoring, live tutoring for elementary to post-secondary students. But there are also adult learning resources. There's practice tests for certification of certain professions, but there's also citizenship practice tests for newcomers, we're quite happy about that. For makers and crafters, we have an online video art and craft subscription to Creative Bug, which they have classes for sewing, painting, all kinds of crafty and maker things. We have programs for teens, kids and adults, and we often have community members that are presenters for adult programs, but we have staff-led DIY maker programs, book chats, and author talks as well. One of our really great annual events, which is happening now, is Simcoe Reads. It's modeled after Canada Reads, if anybody's familiar with that. And this year there's 7 Simcoe County libraries that have chosen a Canadian book and a local celebrity to champion the title. This program runs through the summer, where you can read all the books, and it ends in the fall with a sort of a champion defending each title, and for a winner to come out. And the finale is going to be aired on Rogers TV on October 3rd. We also have genealogy material. We have local history material from the Ontario Genealogical Society within our downtown library. Plus we have access to Ancestry, an online genealogy search, plus some other online genealogy databases as well. One thing that's really gone well through the pandemic is our videoed staff book chats. So we promote those via social media, and it's just our staff talking about a book they read, not necessarily a new book. It's just a book that they really like, and they're talking about it in 2 or 3 minutes. We have book clubs. There's one that's been especially popular is the Diversity Reads book club, and it's just a self-guided book club. We have a book list, and you can read those titles as you want, and you can log that within an app that you can download from the library. In June, we all know it's Seniors Month, so we have a lot of programs in June. We also have a seniors fair. And the other really big thing that we help with is, we know that technology can be a challenge for some. So at the library, we offer many ways to increase digital literacy skills. You can learn online, you can attend a program about technology, ask us in person, you can send an email, phone us. And we offer individual tech coaching sessions as well, where it's a staff member and one person that can learn how to access our resources, set up an email account, anything that's a technology hurdle for people we can try and help with. And you can do this virtually and in person. So that's allowing us to do that virtually is something that we needed to do when the pandemic started. So yeah, we're still doing that. It's great. Another one of our values is curiosity. So we are interested, inquisitive, and committed to exploring new ideas and considering fresh perspective. It's our curiosity and creative thinking that will ensure we continue to succeed. We use our imaginations to exceed expectations. And that's, again, through the pandemic, we've realized that there's things that we can do that we weren't doing, but it helps extend that access to people outside of our library walls. One of the things is digital memberships. You used to have to come in to get a membership, show some ID. Now you can actually, if you live in Barrie, you can go to our website, you can sign up for a library card, and you will have access immediately once you get the email with your library card number to all our digital resources, which is great because people don't have to wait to come into the library to get that access. We offered an express pickup service through the pandemic as well, and we'll continue to do that, which is where you can place a hold on material. When it comes in, you book an appointment and you come at the time that you want. We'll have your material waiting for you at the side door, checked out, we hand you a bag and you're off. So this is something we realize that everybody wants at some point or another, whether it's a busy family that just doesn't want to bring all the kids in, or people aren't comfortable coming into our spaces, we'll still offer that. We have bookable spaces as well. We realize that people want to come in and use our tables to do work or collaborate with one other person. And because of the reduced access and some of the restrictions in terms of how many people we can have in the building, we offer these bookable spaces so you can have reassurance that there's going to be a space when you come in and you need it. Virtual programming, we pivoted to that when we had to do it, and we'll continue doing some of it. We're returning to our in-person programming, but we will probably have a component of our programming that is virtual as well. And I mentioned coaching sessions. So this is one way that we can give individual staff and a patron working together on something like technology. We also offer that for genealogy. We found a lot of people didn't know where to start with genealogy. So we have a genealogy tech coach where a staff member will guide you through the resources we have and get you started on that. And also Maker. So some of our Maker projects or some of our ways that you can use our equipment when we get that back in the library in terms of our Cricut and our 3D printer. We'll offer those tech coaches as well. So there's just so much stuff. Sharing, libraries love to share too. We believe in collaboration, inclusion, and diversity. Through our partnerships and community engagement, we seek opportunities to cooperate and build connections. We share. We love to have groups within our spaces. And as COVID restrictions lift, we can return to offering groups to gather and collaborate in our spaces. We love to give individuals or small groups tours of our spaces, and because we love to share the resources that we have with everyone. If there is something that you guys want to know more about with whatever organizations you are involved with, we're happy to come as well. A library person can come and show you, for example, the specifics about LinkedIn Learning and how you actually do that for you and any groups that you're involved with. We love to do that. We also have a community directory of services through Information Berry and staff to help you navigate that. And the really exciting thing, towards the end of this year or early 2022, we'll have another community library location to share. So we're right now in the process of finalizing plans for our newest community library in the Holly area. And this boutique library will have the same discovery layout shelving as Painswick, and it'll provide the convenience of much needed library services and resources in that growing Holly neighborhood. So there's more, but I don't think I have time. You guys want to get on to other things, but just to recap, well, if you have any questions, there's lots of ways to get a hold of us. Call us, come in person, send us an email. We do have a chat portion on our website now that you can ask a question. Just say, are you open yet? And it'll give you some information on that. But I just want to say that, the way that you use the library is really up to you. We offer different ways to help you access the information, such as our physical books, our electronic books. And you can learn by yourself in the library or in groups or one-on-one with the staff. So we offer you lots of choices. We have in-person and virtual programs for everyone. We have opportunities to volunteer, and we have a beautiful new Painswick library in the South End, and we have another community library coming in the Holly area towards the end of the year. So that's all I have for you. And ask me any questions if you want. I'm happy to answer anything. It's a lot of information.
Allison, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, first of all, Painswick does look great. I was just in there.
Oh, good.
Does look good. So what kind of identification is required to access the library? Because we work with a lot of folks who are homeless or couch surfing and have lost identification, don't have identification. Or we work with folks who are trans, identify as trans, and their identification doesn't necessarily match how they present. So it's really triggering to have to provide picture ID.
Yep. So to get a library card, you mean identification to get a library card? So we do need to have name and address, proof of ID to get a library card. However, we do have an access card that is a temporary card where you can sign out two pieces of material at a time. And we also have, if people just want internet access, we have a card for just internet access and some limited digital resource access where you don't have to. We like to have some ID, but if you don't have it, you don't have to, because you're not signing out any of our material. So you don't require it for that. But there is a, we call it an access card, which is designed for temporary residents. We know Barrie is a tourism location. There's some people that are here for the summer. So it's designed for that, or people that just are temporarily staying somewhere. We offer that as well. So we can make it work for people. We want to have people have access. And as I said, we're interested in reducing barriers. Does that answer?
Yeah, so So are people being asked for the identification, or is that known that they don't necessarily have to provide it?
People will be asked for identification. If they don't have it if they just want to use the internet, then they don't require it. But we will figure things out as well. If somebody really needs to have some material from the library, we can figure out how to get that access for them. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Can someone sponsor somebody? Like if to Colin's question, if somebody doesn't have ID and somebody is there helping them, can they sort of sponsor them?
Yeah, so that's a really good point, because what we do is somebody with the access card that's sort of like a temporary card, you can have 2 items at a time. I'm gonna have to refresh on that, but if you have, say, if you're living in a shelter, we will take that as some proof that that's your address. So basically what you're saying, yes, we can have a sponsor through a shelter with a letter to say I'm staying here, or I'm associated with this organization. I can have a library card. So I think the answer is yes to that, if that's what you're.
Anne-Marie has a question, then I have one other. Anne-Marie?
Can I go a little bit further with that, and Colin, step in if I'm making any assumptions, or if this doesn't apply to the Gilbert Center. But Allison, on that note, I mean, especially for shelters, the Gilbert Center or others, is there a way to actually have a certain number of access cards given to an agency to give out to individuals, so we eliminate any type of triggering conversation or an ask that might feel like there's a barrier there that creates hesitation by an individual? Is that possible, and would that be beneficial if it is possible?
I can think about that. I think we don't necessarily want active library cards without a name associated to it. But I can definitely, maybe I can, Colin, is it okay if I connect with you and just figure out some of the barriers that your clients have, and that we can look at? Okay, we can do that. Yeah, for sure. Because we do try to, make sure everybody has access. There are some limitations too on our side, right? Like you do have to, we have to have some limitations anyways, but let me connect with Colin and see what the barriers are, that maybe we can figure something out.
Yeah, that was my question, but in connection with that, some companies for different things have ID cards that they give out to their employees. If there was a way that when that person uses that card, there was a way of communicating back to the organization that so-and-so used it, it might help as a check. And I don't know, I'm just saying that as something you might want to think about, because that way, if the person that has it, it didn't just find it on the street sort of thing, then at least the organization has a check back.
Right, yeah.
With you. Anyway, that's great. Anybody else have a question? Anne-Marie?
I have a couple. One is, and again, the Painswick space is fantastic. Christopher, thank you for the tour. If you haven't been there, I would invite you to go. I was really impressed, actually, and I had no idea that you could sign out laptops while you're there if you're coming into work, or if the computer lab was at capacity. There's actually a very nice selection of laptops to use on site. The question I had, I've got two, but the first one is, are you in need of volunteers? So while we've got you here, I know that you've got that driving program, and with COVID, I think I even signed up to volunteer just before that happened, around delivering materials to individuals that might be homebound or might have limited access. Is that program back up and running, and are you looking for volunteers?
Yeah, we are, because we want to get that material out to people. What I'm going to do, I think I mentioned to Brandy, I like to give an update after I've done a talk, so that I can actually send you specifically the information that you're asking about. So I'm going to send you guys the information on memberships that you've asked me about, and I'll also send you the information on how to become a volunteer. So, we don't have a ton of volunteer opportunities right now, I'm going to say, but you can't just not do the work beforehand when those volunteer opportunities come up. So I will connect you with the information on how to contact our volunteer coordinator, because you need that background work right before things can get going. So for sure. And I don't know, downtown we have a cafe that's all volunteer run. And me as a staff member, I want that cafe open again because I want to get my coffee every day. So, you know, again, the background work needs to be done so we can hit the ground running when we can open things up a bit further. So I'll pass that on as well.
Okay. I had one more question, but I'm bringing in a whole different lens, Allison, that might involve Chris around data that the library has resources to. So I was in the benefit wearing my counselor hat of having some information identified around the demographics of Ward 3 as an example. And I'm not sure, Christopher and Allison, if you can speak to the Enviro, I think the analytics data access you have, is that being used for other pieces? Like I would see that rich database being a great presentation if we can pull a lens around seniors and Barrie. But I don't want to overstep that, but I wanted to shift to see, do you have data on seniors with the access to information that you have? And would that be something of value around where they live, age demographics? I think you've got cool data around where people are spending their time, how they're volunteering, and it might give this committee an interesting picture of who's the senior in Barrie that we're talking about, because I think you've got up-to-date data too, rather than waiting for the next census. I think you've got some pretty timely info.
We couldn't have planned that better. That's a perfect segue. That's exactly what Chris is going to talk about.
Oh, perfect.
So,
okay.
Yeah, pass it over to Chris.
All right. Yes, actually, you're right, Councillor Kunkel. That is my presentation now. So I'll now, mind you, Allison's was the fun one. Mine's dry. It's just graphs, numbers, and everything else. And just remember, I'll give you highlights of information, but you can always come back and ask for more detailed pieces in it and everything else after. But I'll share my screen. And maybe I won't share it. Show windows. 1 second.
And while you're doing that, I'm putting a book on hold for speed reading.
Should just try to see which one I've got up here.
Through LinkedIn is where you can do the speed reading course online. I'll put that in as well. LinkedIn Learning. Yeah. And just to reiterate what Chris said too, if you have any other questions about any library services, definitely just ask, reach out.
It is not going to share for some reason.
Are you sharing on Zoom?
Yeah, I hope so.
There you go. There you go.
Okay.
There you go. You got it.
That's not the one I wanted, but let me just go back and I'll put up the other one. That one is just a Ward 2. There we go. Okay, so sorry for the delay. Okay, so does everyone see the city of Barrie?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So this one here is just actually the city of Barrie versus the county of Simcoe. I know Anne-Marie does have this presentation. Actually, she's going to put a part of the minutes, I believe. I don't think any of you have this in front of you right now. So this is sort of an overview. Environics Analytics is a very large company that's sort of North American based, and it has data from everything. So for example, let's say if you went to a grocery store or a liquor store or something and they ask you for your postal code, that is the kind of data that gets pulled in, whether it be weekly, monthly, or anything else, as well as the census and a lot of other places that they do collect data from. And what happens is, like, that's why usually even on a street level or a community-based idea, we can go down to that level and say how much liquor is purchased on that street, for example. That's the kind of data you can actually bring in and utilize for whatever purpose you're doing. Now, this demographic analysis is more or less in-house, and this is what we use for our library system. And we've used it for quite a few years. We used to share it with the city of Barrie. Actually, we partnered with the fire department and different things just because they used it for identifying areas in Barrie that maybe had higher numbers of fire calls. And they used it for actually, I guess, walking about that area, that street level or whatever, and talking to people. But they also knew, should they be in uniform? Should they be regular clothing? Should they bring some toys because there's more kids there to give? So it sort of gives you a better identification of a street level even. So for example, under here, I'm just going to go. Oh, it's a little slower than what. Okay, so demographics. So the city of Barrie, population of 155,631. The median maintainer age is 51. And that means, and it says index 92. So when you see index numbers, what happens is 100 is actually the general average. And this means that in the city of Barrie, compared to the county of Simcoe, it's lower than average for median maintainer age. So that's the idea that the average age is lower than the basic age in the county of Simcoe, that residents that live here. Family status, for example, 20.7%, were higher percentage because the index is 127 for total lone parent families in the city of Barrie compared to overall in the county of Simcoe. And if you look down here by population of age, you can sort of see. Now, I'm not sure what you take, Donna, and you might be able to answer this, but when you talk about seniors and different things, do you start at 55 or do you start at 50? What is your sort of a first level of considering a senior?
Well, that's a good question. Different areas of governments and different services look at different age groups. I know that for Stats Canada, I believe it's 65.
Right.
A lot of organizations at 60, and I know that for retirement, a lot are looking at 55. So it depends. As a group, we look at, I believe it's anybody 60 and over as a senior, but a senior nowadays encompasses a broader range.
Right.
And I know your system is based on Stats Canada information as well, which I believe when I went in to look, everything started at around 65 for a senior. So that made it a little difficult to get some stats, but for services and for qualifying for different things, I believe 65, especially for government, 65.
And you can sort of see by the population of age, it actually breaks it down into segments. So
Yeah.
you have like 50 to 54, 55 to 59, 60 to 64, 65 to 69. And if you look over to the right, where the blue section, it says 60 to 64, for example, is 79 as the index. So the city of Barrie actually overall, compared to the county of Simcoe, has a lower number of seniors in total. But where this is sort of interesting, and I'll come back to a different page after, which I was looking at different numbers. For example, under Ward 2, they're way above in Ward 2 compared to the city of Barrie. And there's a very large number of seniors in Ward 2. And that's where, in some sense, like each of the wards, as Councillor Kundal had referred to, each of the councillors did receive a ward report just for their specific ward. So like Anne Marie's, for example, which is Ward 3, hers is actually like, for example, 55 to 59. She's above average against the city of Barrie in her ward. She had the index of 109, which related to 1,039 seniors between the ages of 55 to 59. And whereas here, you can sort of see the average in the city of Barrie is only 90 compared to the county of Simcoe, which is classed as the index of 100. Now, I know these numbers are all dry, so it's hard because sometimes I get entailed in the numbers and then I forget that people probably don't have a sense of where I am. Did you have a question, Donna?
I better let you finish your presentation, then I can ask the question.
I don't mind stopping if you have a question on a page, because we're just going to go through a few different pages.
When you talk about Barrie compared to the county of Simcoe, is the fact that the population may be lower gives it a higher ratio?
No, it's just specific to the area. So the county of Simcoe as a whole, doesn't include Barrie and Aurelia as part of their equation, because it's actually 16 municipalities. But the idea is that maybe there's lots of other seniors homes, like there's Stainer has 3 of them, Collingwood has 4, you know what I mean? So the population base is certainly larger and it's spread out, but the idea that the city as an average is still lower than most. And that's because it's still sort of it's growing so fast, and we have a lot of younger people moving in, which changes that whole equation.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just going to, yes, go ahead.
What date is this information as of?
This is 2021. So I actually did these reports in April.
April, thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, I have like 2020, for example, and numbers will change a little bit for more of your future numbers. So here's demographics. So for example, in City of Barrie, 29.8% homes are rented and 70.28% are owned. Age of housing is 15 to 19 years old, which is an average. But just to give you an idea, for example, in Ward 2, which page am I on here? Housing. In Ward 2, most of the houses are 60 years old plus. So you can sort of see over an average for the city of Barrie, 15 to 19. And that's just because of all the new growth we have, especially in the south end.
Mm-hmm.
It also gives you the basic household income, 104,837. Whereas when I would break it down into a ward, for example, Councillor Cundall's, her average income in her ward is 105,789, which is 101 index. So it's just above the norm. Whereas when I look at ward number 2, the actual income is 73,976, which is way below the average. But if you look at that area in Ward 2, there's more seniors living there, as well as the houses are older, they're larger properties, right? So you have there's all pieces that make up that whole story. And that's what you have to sort of do, is tell the story in each ward differently. That's how it comes back to libraries. We're telling you a story.
When they do average household income, is it everybody that works or registers with Revenue Canada?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It wouldn't have anyone that just selling on Facebook and different things like that, because it wouldn't be part of their T4 system.
So that average number could be mixed for more than just two income earners in the household. So that might affect the fact that in a Ward 2, it's seniors, so there'd be fewer people living in the house that would have an income.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if you remember from the slide before, it actually showed where they're just single living there or no kids at home, right?
Right.
On that age.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Here's demographics. So it sort of gives you the idea of the labor force participation, the education level, the method of travel to work. And it sort of gives you the diagram as well as the graphs down below it, because it breaks it down: occupations, sales and service, trades and transport, business and finance, social science, education, government, and management.
Great.
Demographics, it breaks it down again more for visible minority presence, the non-official language, the immigration, and the period of immigration, so when they came in the first place. It also does the languages spoken at home. So you can sort of see some of the top ones in Barrie, more or less: English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, and Russian. What's the difference between the light and dark? Is one the county and one Barrie?
What's the difference between your dark purple and your light purple?
That-
Oh, there it is. Trade area and benchmark. Okay.
That's right. So benchmark is always the County of Simcoe, and then the trade area is City of Barrie.
Okay.
And then this here just breaks it down into a little more detail again. So this is just the highlights. Like it shows you the total population, total households, and I don't know if I can make that a little bigger for you, see it or not. Age of household maintainer. So for example, if you look at age of household maintainer, 75 or older, you can sort of see that it's below average at 79 is the index.
Again, are these 2021?
2021 numbers, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I just gotta squeeze that down again. Oh, shoot. My fingers are moving too fast. So I'm not sure whether, let's go to the next slide. There we go. So this Prism Profile is what they've done is there's 67 different profiles for Canada. And this here sort of represents the top 5 segments in Barrie, actually, which is 68% of 68.9%. And you can sort of see here, so stress in suburbia. And what happens is it gives a complete description of what that profile is made up of. And within that, you can sort of see also juggling acts, just getting by, and suburban sports. And within there, there's all different ones too for seniors. There's all different levels for seniors. And I can share that whole chart so you can sort of read about each one. And it's quite interesting because a lot of it, if you did a postal code lookup of your own postal code, some of the stuff in there probably would really be familiar to you because it sort of is really highlighted as to where you shop and how you bank and what you buy and then how you live. I mean, if you're a Starbucks, buyer all the time, it even knows that idea, mainly because the analytics it picks up from all the different data sources. So those are the top 5. But if I went to, and I'm going to just switch my camera again, if I can. And I'm going to go to, can't even see it myself, it's so small. It's interesting because I had both them up on the slide, but it didn't keep them. Let me just open up my, so this is Ward 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you some examples of how you sort of see the ward itself, but you can sort of come back here and see the idea of the population base here, family status, couples without children at home. So 49.8% of them is 146 index, which means very high compared to the City of Barrie. Remember, this one here is indexed to the City of Barrie because it's just a ward within Barrie. And you can sort of see down here as well, 55 to 59, 60 to 64, 65 to 69. They're all well above the general index of 100. But you can also see the population really creeps up of seniors. There's about 8,000 seniors within Ward 2 itself. Same idea, remember I referred to a dollar amount per household income, 73,976, sorry, which is way below average for the City of Barrie, but for this ward, that's the ideal. And then age of housing, 60 years plus. I talked about the idea the houses are much older, larger properties, and so this more established. Here's just the method travel again, and I'm just going to come down to demographics. And then so here, the top 5 in Ward 2, for example, you sort of see Silver Flats is the second one. Silver Flats is the oldest segment, a collection of suburban neighborhoods found mostly around large and mid-sized cities, home to a mix of third and second generation Canadians. Half the maintainer population is over 65 years old and 2/3 are retired. No segment has a greater concentration of widows and widowers, 14% or 3 times the national average. While incomes are on downscale, many Silver Flats households are financially sound thanks to modest pensions, government transfers, and tidy nest eggs. In their apartments and condos, they enjoy quiet hobbies like reading books, bird watching, knitting, making crafts, and collecting coins and stamps. They can afford to go to sporting events to watch professional baseball, football, and golf. And many like to keep fit, taking fitness classes, rowing, and fitness walking. With their advancing age, many Silver Flats members make an effort toward health so they can stay and enjoy their retirement years. They also score high for the value of propriety, reflected in their courteous and respectful attitude towards others. So that sort of gives you a good basic description of the second ranked in just Ward 2. And then same with the next one, the third ranked, on their own again. So it's widowers.
Mm.
So see what I mean by each one has its own specific meanings, and it really pertains to that ward. Whereas the city of Barrie itself didn't see that as one of the top 5, but Ward 2 does. And for example, under Councillor Cundall's in Ward 3, I believe, stress and suburbia. So actually, Councillor Cundall, yours doesn't have one in the top 5 for seniors at all either. So it's kind of interesting from that perspective.
Can you tie this to the development of Barrie? Because seniors tend to stay in their homes longer and are more established. So
Right.
the regions of Barrie that would tend to have the higher concentration would be seniors that have lived there for years, as opposed to new developments that draw in people from new people for work or other reasons.
And Donna, you're right. And I think that's why when you look at Barrie as an overall city, for example, Ward 1, Ward 4, Ward 2 are higher in density for seniors than overall Barrie. Ward 8 does have, I think, has couples without children at home index of 113, and they also have a fairly high number in the population by age, which is above the index as well, that ward compared to Barrie. And so that's Ward 8, but all the other ones are all way below average. So you're right, the older areas are certainly the spaces. The newer areas that are being built up are more younger families coming in from Toronto and different areas to get out of the city concept.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kondo?
I was just thinking, I'm not sure if for this committee and for yourself, Christopher and Allison, we had Mike Moffat present at a planning committee last week, I think on the 21st. On the title was Ontario's on the Move, and it was a Simcoe census division. And some of the takeaways for that, I'll share it with you, Christopher, and with the committee if the committee hasn't seen it. But I think it starts looking at some of the things we're seeing from a migration of population. And Mike highlighted, I believe, between the age groups of maybe the 25 to 35, the highest number of individuals in that age demographic leaving Toronto and Peel area and migrating. And that'll be interesting to see too. I mean, if we can look at a picture of where individuals migrate to, how our demographics change over time by age density. But also, does that cause, my biggest question was, does that cause a displacement of seniors that don't have secure housing, that are renters? If they're competing with an increase in population that are higher income earners or have more access to financing or just a different financial picture, are our seniors becoming more vulnerable if they're renters and are on a fixed income and can't compete in a market rate? So for me, it's also looking at how does our rental demographic change around the age of renters and how quickly that's maybe shifting or creating a different vulnerability in the housing stock for those that have access.
Very true. That's a good question, because I think the idea, especially, you know, yourself and Barry, the idea, the cost to rent or buy a condo or whatever is so high now. Definitely, I think, as Donna had mentioned, a lot of the seniors that live in Barrie are staying in their homes as long as they can. And that's why those areas, those certain wards are established with more seniors. So I think, you know, overall, we're going to see a lot of changes altogether in that aspect, but it'd be interesting to see more specific to the wards, how they can change. And I think it depends on the growth in those wards as well. Because Ward 2, for example, you know, you'll still get more condos and different things coming up downtown, whereas maybe Ward 4, Ward 5, you won't.
I think we have some other questions too from Gwen, and then I think, Pat, did you have a question? I can't see everybody's hands. So I saw Gwen's hand up. Gwen, go ahead.
Well, we have bidding wars now on rentals, believe it or not. So what kind of status will we have of people who are without a place to live? Even, I'm not just talking homeless, I'm talking people who should not be homeless.
That's a great question. I can't really answer that kind of question, but it's definitely something that I think the city is trying to look at from a perspective of, you know, where our growth is going and the costing of our growth, both sides, whether it be how much for people to move in, as well as how much it costs us to even grow more out to the south end.
Right. Anybody else have a question before I ask mine? No. Christopher, it must be about 6 months ago, I went into the system to try to look at some reports. And one of the things I was trying to do, and I don't know, maybe you could help us out with that, is to look at the seniors. So I was looking at how many seniors are in Barrie and where they were, but I was also trying to get a demographic on income. So I was trying to see within the seniors categories, what the range of income was, and where, when you break it down, how many people were in certain income brackets. And I couldn't seem to get that, because maybe your system's changed a bit, but it seemed like it was mostly Stats Canada statistics on income, which were 2016, I think. So if you wanted to get a breakdown to see, I guess what I was trying to do is find out how many seniors are below the poverty line in income. Right. And compare that when you look at rental income to see how many seniors actually were in a bracket that couldn't afford certain rental income. And I couldn't seem to get that as a report. Can you help us out with that?
Yeah, I'm going to look and see if we can bring that data up or not, and then I'll come back to you with that.
Okay. Does anybody else have another question? Question of Christopher? Christopher, I should ask, is your presentation done, or should we let you finish?
No, that's it. I mean, it's very dry. Like I said, Allison had the fun one to do.
No, actually, it's fascinating. The system is amazing. It really is great for anybody that hasn't gone into it. But yeah, it's just learning how to use the system to get the information you want. Gwen?
Can this be forwarded to us, Christopher?
Yeah, actually, yes, I did share this already. So it'll be part of your minutes. When you get your minutes, it'll be a presentation attached.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Maybe you could explain to people how to get on, because I went on the system. There's a login for the system, right? For the demo.
No, this one here is it's a pay per, like it's a pay one.
Okay, so then the one I'm thinking about is the one for the library. Oh, the library has a demographic system that you can go into through a login.
That's correct. Right. That's a different one altogether. And Allison,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simply Analytics, and it does have the previous census data. So you know, when the next census data comes available, that will be uploaded and more current. What Chris is using is something that we have internally, right, Chris?
Okay, and that's something that is for users that would pay for the program to get the information they need, like the city or those. So the best thing for us as a committee, if we need statistics, is to go through Anna Marie to ask her if they're available.
Yes, I think the biggest part is it's the cost of the system itself.
Yeah. I can
And,
imagine.
we used to partner with the city, and so maybe Anne Marie could pressure them into partnering again with us, but
Well, on that, we are an advisory committee. So is there a motion there that this committee would like to be formally captured in the minutes? So you have a voice to express that you think that this would be a important budget partnership opportunity to cost share and to have access.
Oh,
So I'm laying it there. I'm not sure
yeah.
what Brandy is, but I think Donna, it would be important if this is of interest to the group. If there was a recommendation forward to city building committee, that this could migrate up and then be considered.
I would agree with that, because this is very significant if you're trying to determine what your rental needs are, what the percentage of the population that really needs affordable accommodations is, and who's falling through the cracks. I mean, the census information is 4 years old, and in 4 years a lot can change. So if the committee agrees, I would say that we need to look at a motion. And do we want to bring the motion back to the October meeting, or do we want to look at a motion now? Can the committee let me know when?
I think we need it as soon as possible.
Okay. So we need a motion that recommends to the city that the demographics report. Is there a specific name for this that we could put in our motion?
I would think that maybe you could just put it as a motion to sort of look at the opportunities of Environics Analytics and how we can partner with other departments of the city, especially because I think, whether it be police or fire or any of the other departments, the idea is that information will be handy for all of them, not just for your committee. So that sort of gives you a better buying power in some sense. Like it'd be an overall blanket coverage for the city of Barrie, and then the departments could utilize it whenever they needed to use it. And because you'd have like 2 login concepts or whatever, but then it would be much more advantageous for fire, police, building, any of that, or even counselors on a separate side.
So this would be a cost sharing agreement, Chris, I would imagine.
Yeah, it would be just more or less getting them to consider the fact of looking at a city license for Environics Analytics and for use with all the departments.
Brandy, do you need some help writing that down? Or did you get it?
A little assistance, yeah, for sure.
So
I just want to make sure that I capture basically everything that the committee would want in this motion.
Can I just ask what the cost is?
For a city license, be around 35,000
Okay.
with 2 logins.
and how when you say it's that price, is that an annual fee or is that
That's correct, annual.
okay? And are there components of that break down in case the city feels that like, is there, say there's a lower amount depending on what you would want?
That's a city basic license, and then there's other opportunities to look at other pieces that you can attain. For example, like there's the travel one, so it could actually go down to look at plazas or malls and look at the timing of all the vehicles in that parking lot, and can tell you the most times that parking lot's used and different things like that. So there's lots of different avenues to increase the cost, but 35 would be your basic.
Okay. So basically, the seniors committee recommends to the city that it investigate a partnership with, what's the name of the company again?
Well, it would be a partnership with other departments to purchase Environics Analytics.
Okay. Brandy, is that okay? Did you get that one?
I should say a license fee, not purchase.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just making some notes here.
Okay, can you read it back to us what you have, and then we'll get it refined for you so that the committee can vote on it.
Can I get the name of the program again?
Yeah, Environics Analytics.
Can you spell that, please?
You might be able to see it, Brandy, on the view here in the very bottom footer.
Yeah.
Right here, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a license.
Okay.
Okay, so basically what I have thus far is that Seniors Advisory Committee requested the City of Barrie to invest in a partnership with other departments for a licensing fee for Evernomics Analytics.
Correct.
Okay. Anne-Marie, does that sound like proper wording for to take as a motion to the city?
Yeah, I think it gets it's going because I think then this will hit city building, which is
Okay.
where we report up to for the October meeting, and we can actually hold that and speak to this.
Okay.
But because we framed it as a motion, it doesn't just get tied into the minutes and buried. It should represent itself as a formal agenda item. So
Okay.
we can speak to this, or we can have staff prepared to identify what happened in the past, because I believe we held a license. And if we can actually then change the motion, maybe at city building, that comes to general committee for an intake form for the budget for
Okay.
2022.
So the city's never held the license, actually.
Oh, is
The
it? Okay.
library's always held the license. Just we did share with actually, I don't know whether, trying to think, when we had there was one part of the city and then Alchie Fire, they did share the cost with me at one point, but so they
Okay.
you could always put the library in there, and then that way they can refer back to me, and then I can go back through the same process I did before.
Okay. Gwen, did you have a question?
I thought we should include the word annual fee.
Okay.
And that probably would come from their investigation into the licensing. They would come back with the report saying this is how much it is and blah, blah, blah.
Great. You know, when you think of the amount of money you spend on different consultants to get you information, this probably would save you a lot in compared to what you'd pay for a consultant to do something like this. So that's great.
And you think of it though, that's what libraries do. We share, as
Mhm.
Allison had said earlier. So that's why we're here to help.
Okay, Brandy, can you read the motion as it now stands, and then we'll vote.
I have that the Seniors Advisory Committee requests City of Barrie to invest in a partnership with other departments for an annual licensing fee for Evernomics Analytics.
Okay, everybody in favor?
Yay.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Sorry, I can't see everybody, so to go through. No opposing? Okay, great. Okay, the motion is carried then. Okay, thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. Actually, both presentations were really great. And Allison, I missed some of the music presentations that you used to have there too. I guess you'll get back to that. And are you doing Saturday morning? You used to have Saturday morning conversational languages.
Yep, the English conversation circles, we are. That is one of the programs that the participants didn't really embrace virtual. So
Yeah.
it is one that we have a priority of doing in person, and we've modified it so that it is safe for everyone. So smaller groups. So that's one thing we're going to need more volunteers for, is to have smaller groups of those English conversation circles throughout the library on, I'm not sure if it's Saturday morning again, but that is definitely a need there. So yeah.
We used to do, I think, Spanish and German too, right?
Yep.
Used
Yep.
to do,
We do those as well.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciated that. Was well worth the time. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
And don't
Okay,
forget,
thanks.
you can always send us an email or call us, and we can help you a little further on whatever, if we got more questions yourself.
Yep.
Okay, great.
And Brandy, I'm going to send you a summary with some links and information. Is that okay for your minutes? I will do
Yes,
that
absolutely. Please, thank you.
right away. Colin, do you want to reach out to me and we can discuss the membership stuff, or you're at the Gilbert Center, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's Colin G at gilbertcenter.ca.
Perfect. Okay.
1 L.
Great.
All right.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Okay, before we do our roundtable, the discussion item is the Seniors events and information. So we're going to have a roundtable with everybody to let us know what's been going on in their own areas. I just wanted to mention, did everybody get a copy of the planning committee document that I sent out to you? Did you pull that off? Seniors Advisory Committee planning document. It was it was an attachment to the email that Brandy sent out with the agenda. And basically what that document is that by the time we get to reviewing our mandate next year and looking at where we go forward with our communication plan, it's important that you remember the different things that we saw in the presentations to see how they may or may not affect any of the items that we might have to look at updating in our age-friendly plan. So it's a useful document just for you to keep information on the presentation so that when we get to next year, you haven't forgotten what's important and what you want to bring into our mandate and into the age-friendly plan. So I gave an example. If anybody has any questions about it, they can ask me, and it's simply a form for your use. You don't have to bring it back to the committee in any way, but I suggest using it so that you can recall information that would be important in our discussions next year. Okay.
Yep.
So maybe we'll just go alphabetical or however we want. Maybe we'll start with Jessica. Jessica, can you tell us what's been going on with the seniors programs and events in your area?
Oh, wow. Well, we've had a lot going on. The Parkview 55 Plus Center opened their doors last week on Tuesday. So we are slowly reintroducing programming as we can and as approved. Sort of a soft opening for the first 3 weeks, and then we'll start adding back in some of the higher touch programs like cards and Mahjong and Scrabble and things like that as we continue to navigate best practices and sort of what that looks like. It was a busy week with the addition of the vaccine screening as well, and seems to be rolling out pretty well. What we are doing is any older adults that are coming in that are interested in having their sort of vaccine passport thing laminated, we are doing that for free for them. So we'll shrink it so that it's a little bit smaller. We laminate it and they can take it with them. So far, so good. We're just continuing to navigate that. Senior Centers Without Walls will continue as well. Some further programming coming in November, though it will be not 5 days a week, potentially only 3 days a week, just due to staffing. And then the Art Your Service, which is a membership program that we supply the membership for, and they can access virtual programming through there. So fitness in the morning and some kind of program in the afternoon. All of that is still happening. Understanding that there have been many changes to what we look like, and that sort of the social component is gone at the moment, and that's the hardest part for most of us to grasp, even myself. We are doing our best. You know, we have to pre-register now for programs, and knowing that technology isn't always our friend, even for myself. We are doing our best to assist with registration, keeping the website as up to date as possible and making it user friendly. So if you go on the 55 Plus Center website, the weekly calendar is there, and then I've linked the programs to the actual ActiveNet program so that they don't have to then source it through play.barrie.ca. It just automatically navigates them there to help with registration. So we are doing that. But, you know, one of the stats that we could say is, you know, somebody asked us, well, how many screening forms did you do in a day? And so one day we had 35 screening forms, but only 3 of those were completed online. So we are seeing that we are doing a lot of paper screening copies still, which is great. We have it set up on clipboards. They can sit, they can fill it out while they wait in line. We've had numerous new members come out. So people who were not members previously that have come out and now join the 55 Plus centers, which is amazing. The Allendale 55 Plus Center will remain closed at the moment, and that's just due to space. Here at the Parkview, it's seniors in and out, whereas at Allendale, it's a multitude of individuals from rentals, swimming, fitness, as well as the main hall continues to be utilized for fitness and virtual programming. So when we get to the point where our occupancy for different rooms increases, we will then look to modify our programming and see what our next steps are that way. So yeah, we're pretty busy. I'm just looking at the October calendar as I start to inch back in some programming and what it looks like. The other thing is too, is the City of Barrie, as of September 28th, which is tomorrow, you can start registering for our register programs that we're offering. So you'll see come back some of our 55 plus register fitness programs and such that aren't necessarily within the membership, but are great opportunities like bone builders and chair yoga and Zumba Gold and all those kind of things. And if you've ever seen Heather Stone teach a Zumba Gold class, you would sign up every week because she's absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful she's back teaching for us. I know she's not here, but I'll give her a shout out anyways. So yeah, so we're just trying to navigate that and
the newsletter that you send out, is that?
Yep, it's been ongoing the entire time,
yep.
Updated online, and we have shifted back to ensuring online is updated, but also having paper copies in the centers available. So when the weather cooperates and it's not raining on us, we had them outside because if you come in to pick anything up, you have to submit a COVID screening. So to avoid that, we will put them outside and individuals can pick them up that way. I'm just trying to think if there was anything else that was happening. Fall programs, we had Zumba, we're offering new ones.
Great.
I think that's
sounds
it right
exciting.
Now. Yeah. It is. It's a busy whirlwind, and I think I've done more talking in the last week than I've done in a year and a half. And I know Pat is going to say, "How is that possible?" But it is totally possible. So like all my face muscles are sore, and they can't even see them because I'm behind a mask half the time. But yeah, you know, the Tuesday we had our social time, which is kind of like a crafters group last week, was our first day back. And one of the individuals that came was like, "You can't see this, but I have a perma smile on behind this mask because I am just so happy to be here." And she took her mask off and showed me and put it back on. But it was one of the sweetest moments of, you know, she just couldn't wait to get out of her house. So
wonderful.
It's things like that you know, make opening and the craziness all that much more rewarding.
Right. Okay. Thanks so much. Colin?
Yeah.
Hi. So our seniors program is the one program of the agency that has a huge catchment area. So we have the program that runs for Simcoe, Muskoka, Greater Sudbury, and Nipissing, North Bay region. And we have a newsletter that comes out weekly with events. Tonight, there's actually a workshop, a virtual workshop, Aging Bodies, Healthy Minds, and it's about dementia and the aging body. And we run workshops from a queer and trans perspective. There's weekly groups. One is Older Boulder North, which is an online group that is social and support. And then there's another group called Coffee and Chat, which is also online, which is specifically just social. We have some activities going on for International Day of the Older Person on Friday. And we have now that we're not doing in-person programs indoors, but we are trying to offer some stuff outside when we can. So there's a walk this week up in Bracebridge. That's it.
Donna, you're muted.
You're muted.
If anybody has any questions as we're going along, please feel free to ask them. Okay, Lucia?
Morning, everyone. The only update I have is something I just received this morning, that our in-person programs at CNIB at our new location and locations around the country are going to be on hold until January at least, with view to what might be coming down and what has been coming up. So that is all I can update you on right now. So our virtual programs will continue to go on.
Great. And the CNIB website's just a question. You still have information on assistive devices for people that are having difficulty with visual problems. Is that
Well,
correct?
the website doesn't have information on assistive devices per se, but you can,
Yeah.
from our website, cnib.ca, you can go to the Smart Life Center, which is on the list. And then you can see everything on there. You can order, because our catalog is no longer in paper form, so you can access the online catalog that way for assistive devices. Yeah, but it doesn't, but the site doesn't actually navigate you that way. It's broken down into live, work, play now, which is a little different. So it's actually lost a lot of what it used to have. Like it used to have Charles Bonnet syndrome on there, and that information is gone. VLR is a separate website completely. And if, for those who don't know what Charles Bonnet syndrome is, I always like to put a word in. It's hallucinations that people with sight loss have. They're not a sign of mental illness. People don't talk about them. They can be quite debilitating, or they can be very mild. People see things like text on the wall or wallpaper, or they may see floating faces or miniature people or small animals. Those are the most common ones. They may see cartoons, but so stuff like that isn't on there, and it is really important. So for anyone who works with seniors, I just every once in a while like to give you a little information on that. And I'll have more information about an event I'm doing on Charles Bonnet syndrome with the UK in the next couple of months.
That's very
So it's about
interesting.
1 in 3. Yeah, it's about 1 in 3 seniors will have these hallucinations. They can be pretty intricate as well. And sometimes they go away. We used to say on average 18 months, but people have them for years and years and years. And seniors are really afraid to talk about them. Super seniors, the older you get, it's 1 in 3. We think it may be even 1 in 2. We used to say 1 in 5, but the older you get and the longer you're living as a senior and you have sight loss, AMD, any of the 4 most common eye conditions, you may have these hallucinations. Just keep in mind, they're not related to mental health issues, but they can be impacting enough that you may develop anxiety from them or any other condition. Yes, Pat, you're muted though. Sorry, you're muted, Pat.
I've
Okay.
never heard of this. Very interesting, Lucia. What level of sight loss do people generally have when this occurs?
Yeah, so it doesn't actually even have to be that much, but what we see is an increase in it as your sight begins to diminish. So say you're at a plateau, you're holding okay, you've got corrective lenses, and then you have another decrease in your sight for whatever reason. It could be really related to other things as well. Maybe you have an eye stroke or something like that. So then we do see after you plateau, if you decrease a little more, the images might come up. Sometimes for people, they'll go away and then come back a few years later. Some people might see a lot of text on the wall. They may see musical notes, and then that might change and it just might become scary melting faces. The people who tend to have scary sights are more frightened to talk about it. And just keep in mind too that there's a lot not known about this yet. So a lot of research is happening. It's been around. It was first documented over 300 years ago. 1960, there was one study, but now we have a lot more and there's more interest in it. I was on a group with a doctor in Kentucky a couple of weeks ago. Interesting to see how people all over the world perceive this similar phenomenon, but it's technically a syndrome. And
not wanting to talk about it because they would think they were mentally ill.
Exactly. And what you keep hearing is people saying, I'm afraid I'm going to get, sorry, I could do a whole presentation on this. I don't need to carry on about it, but it is fascinating when you hear about it for the first time, because I used to work in concurrent disorders and people did have real, hallucinations. And these are very, very different. People normally know they're not real, but sometimes it takes a while to realize that. And so you process it for a few months. You don't tell anyone. Sometimes you don't tell people for years.
Wow.
And yeah,
Well, I know my
And-
husband has little white specks and even that is very scary.
like, yeah. So these are not, sometimes people think they're life threatening. They're not life threatening, but they can be life
Altering.
affecting. You could trip on something thinking, oh, there's some scaffolding in the store suddenly, and that it's not there. So sometimes people isolate themselves and, they don't, you're talking to someone and all of a sudden you're not paying attention because you're watching some sort of cartoon, or they might say, oh, there was one example, someone came to visit their grandparent and these two girls and said, and who are these lovely gentlemen with you? Well, there were no gentlemen with them. It was just them, right? So you can actually, it takes you a moment sometimes to realize they're not real.
Do you have, Lucia, do you have a handout or like a fact sheet on this that you might be able to
Well,
send?
we used to, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to send it out because it's not been rebranded yet.
Oh, I see.
So, but I could prepare something for you guys next time if you like.
That would be wonderful. This is
Okay,
very
I'd be happy to do
interesting.
that.
Yeah,
it's
because
very-
that's something that people would confuse with medications having a side effect. And it might not be
that too.
medication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Pat, or I should do Gwen first. Gwen.
Well, we've been busy. We did 2 political forums for the 2 Barrie ridings. That was September 7th and September 8th, and that took a bit of doing. We had our first physical member meeting September 21st, and we had a speaker talking on the environment, and that was very interesting. Our next meeting is October 19th, and I should mention that Mayor Lehman will be presenting at that one if anybody wants to join us. Today, I'm going to be at Superior Home Health Care, where Andrea Kanjan is talking about a new tax credit for assisting homeowners, I think. I don't know what it's about, but I've been invited and we'll speak for a couple of minutes. It's a chance for me to advocate for what we're doing. We're getting back to our Seniors Community Fund, where we're trying to collect $25,000 to assist seniors living at or below the poverty line of $16,445, and in amounts of $100 to $500. And we have our first meeting tonight to look at 2 possible recipients. We have probably gathered about 8,500 to date towards our 25,000. And I would urge everybody to go to barriecarp.org, click on Seniors Community Fund, and you can donate there a little bit or monthly or whatever. It's all very welcome. We will probably do another auction before Christmas. We did raise about 4,000 from the auction we did on Jane did on Instagram about a month ago. And we will probably do another one before Christmas. But we will keep going as long as we bring money in. And we are also looking for recipients. A lot of them are going to be too shy, or they won't have the wherewithal, not having access to social media or whatever, to even know about our program. So we are looking at members, Helping Hands, Barrie Families Unite, people to put people forward that might need our help in whatever form. We do not give out cash. It will either be in the form of a check payable to whatever the need is, or a gift certificate. So hopefully we'll keep going and reach our target. Yes, Jessica.
Gwen, do you have any like marketing? I want to say marketing material, like anything that is that I could put in PALs about the program? I'm just working on the October issue, and if you had some kind of blurb or you'd like to write something up that I could put in there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. We've been trying not to spend any money whatsoever. That
It's no money. It's just if you just have if you have a poster that you've generated, or even just a little, little article about the program with who they contact in your logos.
Yeah, I will bring that up at our meeting tonight and get that to you. Thank you, Jessica.
Amazing. That'd be great. Perfect. Thanks.
Yes.
When you have the link to your website too, And the website has information on there.
Yes, everybody can go to barrycarp.org and click on Seniors Community Fund.
Okay.
And we'd appreciate it. We do e-transfers, or you can donate right there, or you can drop off a check to Superior Home Healthcare or mail it to 150 Livingstone Street East. But I will send you that information, and I appreciate any and all help. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Pat, you're a community member. Who do you represent?
Yeah, I'm a community. Well,
Yeah, someone.
I'm through the 55 Center. I really haven't been involved in anything because I ended up working most of the summer, going back to work to help out and renting a cottage. So I've been trying to get my money's worth there. So I'm one of the few people who's actually looking forward to Thanksgiving being over so I can get back into my volunteering life and my all the things I want to do.
That's great. Thank you. Anne Marie, do you have anything to let us know about what's happening at City Council about seniors? Yeah, go
So
ahead.
a couple of pieces briefly. I've sent Brandy the presentation. You should have at hand anyways in the September 21st planning agenda. But if those documents could be circulated to the committee, that was Dr. Moffat's presentation that I referenced with Christopher. And in addition, to pull the bylaw as it currently stands with recommended changes to the accessory suites and secondary dwellings, that might be of interest to the committee. And then lastly, we had a Affordable Housing Task Group meeting last week, and that small group with Mayor Lehman discussed key components around strategies. And so we are just getting prepared to pull that document together to report back through City Council to the public on the work and recommendations of the Affordable Housing Task Group. So I'll let you know when I find out the date that lands. But again, I would suggest if there's any follow-up questions, maybe carving out some time in our December agenda, if we are meeting in December, to maybe invite Mayor Lehman or myself as a member of that committee to speak to that document if you've got questions.
Okay, great.
Definitely.
Thank you. Just on the planning note, does everybody get the email from the city to look at the plan? I got an email about looking at the updated plans for the city to comment on. We just got that last week. Does everybody get that email? Maybe I'll circulate it then if you don't. Okay. I'm a community member too, and unfortunately my last year has been spent taking care of my mom who is declining, so hasn't had opportunity to get out or do too much, but I'm certainly learning a lot about what there isn't available in the healthcare system. But just the same, and Lucia, to what you're saying, my mom is going through exactly what you're talking about. So it's interesting that you make those comments, because it's hard to listen to someone when you hear them say the same thing. I see two men beside you, or what are those animals doing on the floor, or or there's a pool of water in front of me, I can't walk forward, so it really does happen to older people. And not
Well, we have a support group, Donna.
Yeah.
So it's once a month. If you're interested, I can send you the information for that.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
basically,
that's great.
you have to connect with me for that. So
Yeah.
that's
But that's good that you bring that up, because I'm sure there are a lot more seniors that are feeling the effects of that. So that's valuable information that I think a lot of people in the public don't know about,
That's right, Donna.
And
Just to put in a plug, when you do talk to other people who have it, it is such an enormous relief.
Right.
So just want
To me,
for you.
that is something that home and community care should be very aware of, because caregivers coming into people's homes, which I've just started to have happen, and they're aware of taking care of someone from a physical point of view, but they're not all versed on the changes in mental attitude and things that happen to seniors that they're taking care of. So maybe that's something you should connect with home and community care about, because I think that would be significant. And
Sure. Donna, can I ask you a question around home and community care? I read somewhere recently that the Linds were changing their name again. Is that right?
The LINS has, it's now Ontario Health Teams.
Okay, well, when did that happen? Because it was kind of snuck in there and I didn't even realize.
The process has been in place since the government came in three years ago. It started when they decided to disband the LIN and start the Ontario Health Team. So each region has their own health team. And if you go on to the LIN site, you can get information on that too, which would tell you what health team you're in.
People are still using the term LIN, yeah.
Right, and that doesn't exist anymore, that it's been, but the transition was probably overshadowed by the COVID, because it was right around the time that COVID came in that, you know, all the changes were starting to really happen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anne-Marie?
If helpful, just to build on that, because the communications online, I don't think they've done a rip and replace to make sure people could still navigate.
Yeah.
So you can still find it, Lucia, through the NSM LIN, but you'll see a redirection. So if you want the home care services, they are just communicating, and on that scroll of the website that you'll go to healthcareathome.ca. So for me, the old CCAC hat, when I used to work there, it feels like we're back to the CCAC with a new name for home care, right? So it's healthcareathome.ca.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I do get monthly updates from the Ontario Health Team, so I can send those out to people if they're interested. It tells me when they've established a new health team. And
you would have seen, Donna, they just announced Barrie within the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so they do a publication and then they send it out. So I'll be sure I send it out to you guys too, because it's informative. Okay, great. Well, this has been a great meeting. I really have enjoyed it. And I thank Brandy for her hard work in organizing and getting things put together for us. So thank you, Brandy. We look forward to our future meetings with you. And I'm sure, Jessica, you're working hard helping along too to try to get us speakers. So I think that's great. So
It's a team approach.
Yes,
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Gwen?
Did anybody hear about the home in Allendale where the residents are paying $5,000 a month and not getting food or clean beds or whatever? And I wondered if anybody knew what was happening there.
Well, the problem is it's a private company that runs, it's been in it was in the Barrie Advance, but because it's run by a private company and it doesn't come under, the only thing the province does with retirement residences is provide a license. They have a license and there's limited regulations that they come under. I know that was one of the things the government was working towards, and maybe that's something they need to advocate on.
Yeah, and,
go ahead.
You know, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't have any insights, but I also think that they're in general, and that sort of workforce at the moment, that they're very, very, very short staffed, and they're having quite difficulties finding staff. And from individuals that I know that work in different retirement homes in different positions, and there's just a lot going on right now. And you know, if someone's looking for a job and they have that PSW, or they don't, but they have want to work in that industry, then I totally recommend that they apply and they speak to them, because you know, I think that every home is doing the best that they can at the moment, but I think there was more to it than just what the story was there, because I read that as well and was like, holy moly. And then I reached out, and you know, just in general, there is a real shortage of available staff to support the industry right now.
Yeah, I know they've done some work on PSWs, like fast tracking them to try to get them into the industry. But again, it's like anything, it takes time, and when you have an explosion of need, it's hard to catch up with the need when you're behind on the numbers of people. And it is a hard industry to work in, so a lot of people really don't, when they get into it, find it too hard. So I think you're absolutely right, Jessica, but thanks for the comment, Gwen.
Donna, if I could just add to Jessica's comment, I was on a meeting where it was discussed, and apparently it had a change in management, which actually led to quite a bit of confusion. And even though they're saying the short staff piece, they don't have any job postings on their website. So I think if this is an issue, it would behoove you to do that. But the reports are very true. From what I hear.
Yeah. Well, I hope families
And
get
pay
involved
people
too,
for the
because,
job.
yeah,
Companies need to pay better.
yeah.
And I heard there were 800 people waiting to get into long-term care in Ontario. Or no,
You can
Simcoe
go-
County, I think it was, Simcoe County.
Yeah. You can go onto the website. I sent you guys a report from Simcoe County on long-term care. There was a sheet that shows the waiting list and the amount of time it takes to get into every home. And it varies between 2 and 5 years to get into a long-term care facility. So if you've lost that sheet or you need another copy, let me know and I'll send it back out to you.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. And the only other problem with that list, just keep in mind that people can put up to 5 homes on their checklist. So if someone is on 5 different homes, it makes the numbers higher as well. So it makes it hard to determine, because in long-term care, waiting lists are divided by different criteria. So unless you want to know what that criteria is, I'll leave it and just talk about it. Or does anybody want to know what the criteria is?
Sure.
Well, first of all, it's emergency. So anybody that is at risk and is deemed an emergency gets first priority. Unification of couples is the second priority. Transfers from other facilities. So someone's on a waiting list and that's been put into a facility that needs to move to a facility because they were on the waiting list for that facility. And then people in their home, and there's an A and B with people in their home and they're ranked depending on their need for care. So basically that's the ranking. So when they're determining on their list who's going to get into a home first, that's part of it. So a lot of your risk people come out of hospital. So people that are in hospital that are taking up acute care beds that need to go into long-term care are prioritized, or people in their home that can't stay there anymore because they can't provide enough services to take care of them. So that's why people in their homes take longer to get into long-term care. And that's just what happens, unfortunately. Yeah, and it depends on what your area you're in and how many people are on your waiting list and whether you want to be able to move out of your comfort area. And all of those factors come into it too. But pretty difficult situation out there right now. Yeah, well, that's a great meeting and I'll look forward to next month and hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and gets all the turkey they want.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, everybody.